Dear hungry one, I knew you when you were small enough to believe food appeared because someone loved you. You came into me with your school bag still on, one sock slipping down, face pretending to be normal, stomach already negotiating. You would say, "I'm not hungry," with great confidence, then stand near the stove 2 minutes later asking, "What's that smell?" As if you were conducting serious research. I remember her hands best, not because they were soft. They had small burns, flour in the lines, turmeric near the nails, and that grandmother way of touching a hot pan like heat was a rumor she did not fully respect. She never measured the way recipes measure, a little more, not too much, until it looks right, until it smells done, until some invisible committee of ancestors approved it. You would ask how much, and she would look at you as if spoons were for people who did not trust love. I was never quiet. Something was always boiling, frying, soaking, cooling, being covered with a plate, or being hidden from children who still found it in 7 minutes. Steel boxes opened, lids clattered. The pressure cooker announced itself like breaking news. The fridge was opened for no reason. The biscuit tin sometimes had biscuits and sometimes had sewing things, which was one of childhood's earliest betrayals. I remember you sitting on the counter after being told not to. I remember you stealing the crispy piece before anyone else got it. I remember her saying, "It's hot," and you nodding wisely before burning your tongue anyway, because patience had never been your strongest subject. That was love here, not always hugs, not always speeches. Sometimes love was someone blowing on your food before you ate it. Sometimes it was fruit cut and placed beside you without discussion. Sometimes it was the best piece quietly moved to your plate while everyone pretended not to notice. She had a way of making hunger sound like an emergency. Eat properly. Have one more. You've become so thin, even when you had absolutely not become thin. Especially then. You rolled your eyes, of course. You were busy growing up, and she was busy packing food into your bag like you were leaving for a war. One box for the road, one extra in case, one because you never know. You thought she was doing too much. She was. That was the point. I remember festivals when I became a factory, steam on the windows, people walking in and out, someone asking where the small spoon was, someone tasting something and saying it needed just a little more of something nobody could name, her getting annoyed if people entered at the wrong time, then feeding them anyway. But ordinary days were my favorite. Tea in the afternoon, leftovers becoming something new, her sitting for exactly 3 minutes before getting up again because rest made her suspicious. You doing homework nearby, pretending not to listen, while she talked to the stove, to God, to the vegetables, and occasionally to people who were actually in the room. You thought it was just food. It was not just food. It was her way of asking if you were okay, without making you answer. It was her way of saying, "Stay a little longer." It was her way of keeping you close after you had already started becoming someone who would leave. And you did leave. Everyone does. One day you stopped sitting on the counter. You stopped asking what was for lunch before saying hello. You became busy, careful, modern, complicated. You learned deadlines, delivery apps, coffee orders, eating quickly over a laptop. You learned to call food fuel, which made me want to drop a rolling pin on the floor for dramatic effect. Still, I stayed in you. I am in the smell that stops you in the middle of a street, in the way you believe tea can fix more things than it should, in the way you save empty boxes because throwing them away feels rude, in the way you ask, "Have you eaten?" when what you really mean is, "I love you, but I don't know how to say it today." That was her inheritance, not the recipe exactly. You will never get the recipe exactly. The pan will be different. The water will be different. Your hand will hesitate where hers never did. Something will always be missing, and maybe that missing thing is the point. Maybe her food was never meant to be copied perfectly. Maybe it was meant to teach you that love can be practical. It can be packed in foil. It can be stirred into a pot. It can arrive in a steel box with too much food and one instruction: finish it. So the next time you miss her, make something simple. Make tea, toast bread, warm leftovers, cut fruit for someone and pretend it is no big deal. Feed yourself like somebody once stood over you and insisted your life mattered enough to be well fed. And if it does not taste like hers, smile anyway. Some flavors are not meant to be repeated, only remembered. Love your grandmother's kitchen.